Welcome back to The Complete Game. Lesson 2 is going to be how to take the racket back for your forehand to get the best forehand possible. Alright, in lesson 2 here on how to take the racket back for your forehand, people don't realize a lot of times how important it is. A lot of times when we make errors, whether the ball is going long or short, or we're following through correctly or getting the appropriate amount of spin, a lot of times isn't just about the follow through or the swing, it has to do with how you took the racket back. Now there's 3 elements that I like to focus on when we talk about taking the racket back. The first one is the loop. So you want to take the racket back up and then down to get through the swing. And the reason why we don't take it straight back and then straight forward is because there's no rhythm there, and it's also harder to create spin because you're just going from here to there. Another reason is when you take the racket straight back here, that tends to actually pull your upper body down, in which then you end up getting a little bit shorter armed here, and that makes you go on top of the ball. Okay? So starting the loop here gives you that rhythm which you need, and rhythm is a big part of tennis, and I talk a lot about that in my mental game stuff. You need to have good rhythm and energy out there to play well. So this creates the rhythm. 2, it helps you with your posture. 3, it gets the momentum going so then you can come through with a nice swing and spin. Now, how high to bring that loop is questionable. A lot of people have different opinions. The angle that I usually like to go for is try to get the racket face about head high. To me, if you're bringing it up here, the negative on that is that sometimes it's hard to get the racket all the way down in time to hit the ball, or it's harder to get your spin. It makes the shot a little bit flatter. If you bring it a little bit lower, then again we might get into this situation here where we're pulling down. Okay? So this, I like to go for about head high. Next, I want to talk about the 2 different angles here of what I think your racket should look like on the way back. So we have first the angle of the racket compared to your arm here. Okay? So to me, if you go all the way up here where your racket is at a 90-degree angle between the ground and here or here, okay? What that does is that creates actually a pretty consistent swing, but it makes your swing spray the ball a little bit more. So I'm going to go a little bit into what spraying the ball means. So spraying the ball is basically when the ball hits this part of the strings and then goes this way. So when your ball hits, it doesn't have a lot of pop on it, and it also can spray long or a little bit wide a lot of times. If we're hitting around the ball, hitting on the top part here, that makes the ball have more spin. It helps it trampoline off the racket better and get you more power. So to me, if you go up like this, then you're gonna get the wrist stays a little bit too much like this, and then you end up hitting the inside of the ball here and getting a bit of spray. Now, why not do all the way down here? And the reason why I don't suggest is doing all the way down here is, while that is actually really good for getting around the ball and getting that pop, it creates more of a wristy swing. Okay? So that loses consistency. So I like to go for kind of in between here, a 45-degree angle if you're going from the ground here. To me, that gets the best balance of having a wrist that keeps it consistent, but also helps you get around the ball. Lastly is the angle of how the racket is pointing this way or this way, towards the court or towards the fence. Now, this has a great effect on everything. If you have the racket pointed back to the fence a little bit, that also tweaks the elbow in over here. So we could talk about this in regards to how far do I put my elbow out or how far I put my elbow in. I do find that it's a little bit easier just to focus on this. But if it helps you to think about the elbow, that's another way. So when it comes to how far we take it back, some people can maybe take it back all the way to the fence like this. So we'll go ahead and call that 3 o'clock, or all the way to the net here and we'll call that 9 o'clock. I think the best angle is about 11 o'clock. So 12 would obviously be here, and tilting it a little bit this way. Now, as you can see, when I tilt my racket a little bit this way, it puts my forearm out a little bit. Okay? I like that because then we create this shape here. And when I create this shape here, almost this pocket, that allows me to then hit around the ball better. If I bring it this way and my elbow's in here, as I take the racket back and I bring it through here, again, we're gonna get that inside of the ball and we're gonna spray it a little bit too much. Okay? I do think that when people bring it all the way here, now that will definitely help you get some power and hit around the ball, but now we're creating way too much of a whip. Okay? And if we do this, while we're gonna be very consistent, we're not gonna get around the ball. So I think 11 o'clock, tilting a little bit this way, is the best way. One other way I like to think about it, I was saying about the shape here, is when you're taking the racket back, you can think about taking it back with your forearm. So your forearm goes back. Not necessarily your elbow, you don't want to tilt it like this, you kind of take it back with your forehand. Last little part here on taking the racket back is what you should be doing with your offhand. So when you're in ready position here and you're taking that racket back, you don't want to just let go right away, you also don't want to hold it all the way through. What you want to do is, when that ball comes, you start going to your forehand, you start loosening up your grip here. So you're loosening up, and so you're guiding it back with your opposite hand, and then it just kind of naturally goes like this. And as you can see, that gets a nice shoulder turn for me as I take that racket back. So here's the full shape of what the swing should look like. We're gonna go here. So see, I've got about a 45-degree angle here. I've got it tilted a little bit towards the net, and I've got it about head high here, and then through the ball. So I want to kind of create that nice shape right here and through the ball. Now, if you look at any of my clients throughout the years, even my top clients, they might have a slight variation. Maybe they're a little straighter, a little tilted, a little bit this way. So to me, getting it exactly the shape isn't the important thing. You got to figure out what's comfortable, but understanding what the shape does and how to basically manipulate it to make your shots better is really important to me, and getting somewhere around this shape. All right, guys, that is the shape of the backswing there for your forehand. Lesson 3, we're going to be going over the swing and follow through. Thanks.